Hey guys, I'm Adam from Top Dog, and we're doing another video in our three-part series about helping our friends that live far away from us finding a dog care professional near them. Because let's face it, not everybody that we're friends with lives within an hour of us and is able to use our services. So we wanted to give some pointers and some tips for how to find a daycare near you. And that was the first installment in the video. If you haven't seen that, then go ahead, go down the description down below. I'll share it in the description down below. This one, we're going to be talking about choosing the right boarding facility for your dog. And in the third one, we're going to be talking about choosing the right trainer for your dog. Number one, this is far and away number one. This is so much more important to me than any of the other ones. Number one most important thing is choosing a place that has appropriate hours of operation. Now, you need to dig a little deeper in this because, like, for example, if you go to my website, it's going to say that we close at 7 p.m. Well, guess what? It's way after 7 p.m. right now, and I'm still here. That's because we stay after 7 p.m. We just quit accepting appointments at 7 p.m. So we don't allow people to come in after 7 for lessons and drop-offs and pickups and things like that. But we're still here way after 7 doing training, making videos, letting dogs go potty, exercising dogs, doing play groups and all that stuff. Our last potty break of the day is at 11 p.m. Our first potty break of the day is at 6:30 a.m. So what that does for us is it prevents a lot of dogs from having accidents and stuff. Unfortunately, this is not very commonplace in my industry. We get a lot of folks that we know that take their dog someplace and their dog comes home with a UTI and they come to find out, well, the place is open like 8 to 5 or 8 to 6 or something like that. So the dog's last potty break of the day is at 6 p.m. Dog's first potty break of the morning is at like 7, 8, 9 a.m. sometimes even. And so their dog is getting a UTI from this type of thing. The thing that really drives me nuts about this is the fact that even veterinarians do this. One of my good friends that's a veterinarian, he's open from 8 to 6 and he offers boarding and he gets a lot of dogs with UTIs. And I say, hey, doesn't that click for you that that's what's going on? Now, not every dog is willing to hold it all that time. So if they're not getting UTIs, oftentimes that means they are going to the bathroom in their kennel, which can cause some dirty habits once they get back home as well. So again, it's driven me nuts ever since I was a teenager. Driven, is that a word? Driven or drove? It drove me nuts. It drove me nuts back when I was a teenager, my very first job that I had working with dogs. And first 2 hours of every day was cleaning kennels because the dogs were expected to be inside for 14 or 15 hours. And guys, like I said, that might sound crazy to you, but unfortunately it's way too commonplace in this industry. So make sure you find a place that's doing late potty breaks for your dog, so that way they're going to be so much more comfortable during their visit. It'll probably more likely mimic your schedule that the dog is used to at home. The second thing you should look into is the number of potty breaks. So these two are pretty closely related, but tip number 2 is look into the number of potty breaks that you're going to receive. Again, far too commonplace in this industry is 2 or 3 potty breaks a day, and then some places will say, oh, for an extra $10 we'll do an extra 5-minute walk in the middle of the day and stuff like that. I think that's bogus. Dogs need to be getting out more than 2 or 3 times a day, okay? So check into the number of potty breaks. Now, whatever you think your dog will be comfortable with, some people say, oh, 4 or 5 or whatever. I mean, here at Top Dog, we're doing, I would say, minimum of 8 a day with the dogs. But I know not every place is gonna offer that level of care, so I'm not saying that they have to give your dog 8 potty breaks a day, but I think it should be at least 4 for my comfort level, if not even more than that. And we actually coordinate our potty breaks with play groups with the dogs too, so that means they're getting out and playing a lot. That might be something you take into consideration as well. My third tip would be to look at the types of crates or kennels or suites that they offer. Now, you might say, well, suite sounds the fanciest, that's the best. Well, my problem with suites is oftentimes that the really fancy suites that they have these built-in floor drains to help keep things clean. Well, that also lends itself to employees if they want to be a little lazier. If a dog has an accident in a suite, hey, no big deal, there's floor drains. I just take it in, hose it out, everything goes away, easy, problem fixed. So you get some folks that are a little lazier because the kennels are a little easier to clean. So don't balk away from a place that doesn't have the fanciest kennels. Obviously you want them to be clean, smell good, things like that. That's going to be signs that they're taking care of the place. But I wouldn't balk away from a place that has really simple kennels. We used to have a lot nicer walk-in suites and stuff like that. And we actually got rid of them and now primarily use crates for most of the boarding dogs because of the fact that we found it's what they're used to at home, and also it prevents anybody from getting lazy. Nobody likes cleaning crates, but the dogs are comfortable in them because that's what they're used to at home. And like I said, since we do so much exercise here, it's no big deal for the dogs to just go chill in their crates. Again, those places that have those big fancy suites, oftentimes that's just a replacement for getting your dog out and exercising your dog. Well, here, everybody knows that when their dog boards with us, their dog always goes home tired because their dog has had lots of ample playtime, running, exercise, all that stuff. So that's what you should be looking for more than you're looking at the type of environment that your dog's boarded in as far as the kennel or suite or anything. Just make sure that it's something that your dog's gonna be comfortable with, and make sure that they're not using something really fancy as an excuse for why they're not getting your dog out more often. Tip number 4 that I'm gonna give you goes right along with that, and that's that exercise time. So figure out what they're doing as far as exercise. Are they taking the dog out on leash walks? Are they involving the dogs in group play? What is their plan for exercising your dog? And depending on your dog, it's gonna be what you're comfortable with. So I don't have a right and a wrong for that one, but just make sure that you pick something that you're comfortable with, whether it's leash walks, whether it's group play, whether it's taking the dog out in the yard and playing fetch, whatever you think is gonna be best for your dog. And tip number 5 is going to be make sure you go to a place that's going to reinforce the behaviors that you want your dog doing or not doing. So what I mean by that is, I'll use my sister for an example, a place that she was boarding in Indianapolis, and she wasn't very fond of the fact that every time her dog came back from boarding, she basically had to retrain her dog not to jump up on guests, because while the dog was in boarding, the dog was frequently encouraged to jump up and give hugs. Well, a boarding place employee might think that that's cute or whatever, but you got to take into consideration that my sister Leslie didn't like that big 70-pound dog jumping up on all of her guests because it could easily knock somebody over. So she spent a lot of time training that dog not to do that. But then because of the fact that every time it went to the boarding place, people were encouraging the dog to do that, some of her training was undone. So make sure that you go to a place that's going to reinforce the behaviors that you want or do not want. So again, just as a quick little recap here, make sure that the place is doing appropriate bathroom potty times. Make sure that they're getting out late and getting out early, so that way your dog's not having to hold it all the time. Make sure, tip number 2 is make sure that the people are letting your dog out frequently enough throughout the day that it's not just 2 or 3 times a day. Like I said, bare minimum should be 4 times, I would think, if not even more than that. Also make sure that the kennels, like I said, look and smell clean and all that stuff, but don't fret if they don't have the fanciest kennels, because like I said, for us, crates have been a great answer because the dogs are more comfortable in those, and we've had better results in those than we ever had with big suites. We even had some suites as big as my office, and we actually have dogs do better in crates than they were doing in those ginormous suites. Actually, just thought of another example of that. We've got a dog, Wags, that comes in, does phenomenal staying in a suite, does phenomenal staying in a crate. Whenever she boards anywhere else, she ends up tearing the place up because when she's in big rooms, for some reason it causes her to be more anxious. Next tip is make sure that your dog's getting plenty of exercise time there. And then lastly, make sure that they are reinforcing the behaviors that you want out of your dog. If you do those things, I think your dog will have a pleasant visit. You'll be happy with your dog when they come home. They'll be happy to go to boarding. That's my goal. Every time a dog shows up, I want to see him show up with a wagging tail, super happy to see us. We want to be their home away from home. And so if you look for those things in a facility near you, hopefully your dog will be really happy with your facility as well. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Adam from Top Dog. Stay tuned for the next video in this series. Like I said, it's going to be all about picking a trainer near you if you're not close enough to train with us. And if you're close enough to train with us, we'd love to have you. Come by and meet me sometime. I'm Adam from Top Dog. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.